apart from talking about death penalty across the globe, you've also been talking about freedom of expression, fundamental human rights. My appeal to Amnesty is not to over-concentrate on the abolition of the death penalty, which is so crucial. We understand. I'm not trying to belittle the effort. We fully support that. If you visit the condemned block, I don't know the last time you visited there. Some of them are very, very old. We have the videos. Very, very old. Some of them may not have even committed a crime.
So what person who do media Crime Check Foundation yedi abroni na call YouTube channel Crime Check TV GH. Subscribe to my
so subscribe via me adomanese send a video via the betu via
Ubet means work on your Facebook page Crime Check TV GH. A hono enipa 500,000 eme following. Once back home be like it no following.
Today we are here to on a courtesy call to the Crime Check Foundation, and our message is very simple. On our campaign to abolish the death penalty, we have had several strategies that we have been working on. Previously, we were looking at reviewing the Constitution. The Constitutional Review Committee's recommendation was that to abolish the death penalty in Ghana, we had to do or organize, the country has to organize a referendum where people have to vote yes or no. But then we realized that that approach was going to be very expensive for us as an organization to support and to fund. So during we've had several meetings. We met with the president in February 2020, and then he recommended that we should look at the least costly approach to fighting for the abolition of the death penalty. So through that, we engaged several stakeholders, including Honorable Francis Xavier Sosu, who is the member of Parliament for Medina, and he's currently a deputy ranking member at the Parliament's Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Affairs Committee. And what he supported us with his advice, and then we also discussed or worked with Honorable Martin Kwebu, who is also a private legal practitioner. The recommendation that they gave us, which was to look at the less costly approach, was to amend some provisions in the Criminal Offences Act at 29, 1960, and then the Armed Forces Act at 105, 1962. And the provisions were such that we were going to substitute the provisions of the death penalty in these acts to life imprisonment. And with that, we will achieve at least 97% of the abolition of the death penalty for ordinary crimes. So when we realized that it was a very good advice that was given by our partners, we decided to take it up. And by the grace of God, we had on 25th July 2022 this year, Honorable Francis Xavier Sosu presented a private member's bill to Parliament, and it was read for its first reading in Parliament on 25th July 2022. Right now, the bill has been referred by the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Alban Sumani Kingsford Babin. He has referred the bills to the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. Now we have gotten to a stage where the committee is requesting for memorandum in support of the bill that are before them. And as co-sponsors of the bill, we are paying courtesy calls to all organizations that share similar visions with us, especially in the fight for the right to life, and in the fight for the right to prisoners' rights as well. And we have worked with several organizations like the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. We have worked with Legal Resources Center, and we have even worked with Crime Check Foundation in the past. We thought that it was going to be a very great opportunity for us to come here and then tell you our updates, or give you updates on the work that we have done in the campaign to abolish the death penalty. and why we need your support to join us to send the memo to Parliament. So that is why we are here, to appeal to you to join us to submit a memo in support of the bill before Parliament Committee. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much. And I think I like the composition of your team. You have account managers and so on and so forth. So at a point I thought that there would be a briefcase that would be open for some money. So you know, briefcases go to Parliament. You know. So thank you very much. I think it's a worthy call, and just as you said, we've been drumming home this message for a very long time. I remember about 2 years ago, Amnesty International invited me as a special guest of honor at Kita. Yes. And it got to, it was about the death penalty. It's something that all well-meaning people don't subscribe to in this age and time, where democracy has taken roots in virtually most countries around the world. About the president giving you the shortcut to ensure that this obnoxious legislation is expunged from our statute books. I think it is even long overdue, and we should understand that democracy is expensive. And so some of us have been wondering why we cannot, for instance, do a referendum. A country like Ghana that claims to be a beacon of democracy in Africa and the champion of human rights. If we cannot fund a referendum, then we are joking. You see, there are a lot of entrenched clauses in the Constitution. It is not only about the death penalty. That needs that we need to expunge. And in this country, if you are not careful and you are talking, they will say that you are doing politics. I don't remember the last time I even voted. You would say that I'm not being a patriotic Ghanaian. That is not the issue at all. But I think that the president is a human rights lawyer, and most of us thought that some of these things would be at the forefront, you know, in his quest to ensure that Ghana becomes a leading light, democratic leading light in Africa. So it's a very important call, and so we're happy that you've been advised to look at amendment of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, if I got it right, and the Armed Forces Act. Sure, but we would support you. We support your cause. We've always supported this worthy cause. But I thought that I should also put across one or two things that are very important. We know that the work that Amnesty does. I was trying to pencil some of the things you said. That apart from talking about death penalty across the globe, we've also been talking about freedom of expression, fundamental human rights, basic education and housing, right to life. That's what we are talking about. Yeah, so my appeal to Amnesty is not to over-concentrate on the abolition of the death penalty, which is so crucial. We understand. I'm not trying to belittle the effort. We fully support that. But if you also have at the core of your activities freedom of expression, talking about fundamental human rights and so on and so forth, I am talking passionately this way because of the work that I do in the prisons. I was at Cape Coast, one of the prisons in Cape Coast yesterday, and I can report authoritatively that the conditions are terrible. You know, that is no news, you know, to us media people. But then it appears that we haven't narrowed in on the reality on the ground. There are lots of people who are blind. Some crawl. Some are very old. So if the purpose of imprisonment is to reform and rehabilitate such individuals, then it appears we have defeated the very objective, the reason why these people were incarcerated. If you go to the condemned block, where we have prisoners who have been sentenced to death. Someone would argue that since the inception of multi-party democracy in 1993, no one has been executed at the condemned block. But then I think it is still important because if Ghana is being ranked on the democratic table, the outsider doesn't know that since the inception of multi-party democracy, no one has been executed. The point is that Ghana is one of the countries that subscribes to the death penalty, and I'm sure that has been the motivation for your wanting to expand. But apart from that, I think it's important that you look at the other parameters. If you visit the condemned block, I don't know the last time you visited there. Some of them are very, very old. We have the videos. Very, very old. Some of them may not have even committed a crime. because you know the nature of our criminal justice system. I don't know what the amnesty is doing about that. If the purpose is to reform and rehabilitate, the point is that if someone is now 78 years, 80 years, the person cannot see, does the person constitute a threat to society? No. What are we doing about them? What is amnesty doing about such people? They are languishing in jail. They are weak now. I did a story about a man who was alleged to have committed murder. It was eventually, but because it happened after 1993, he wasn't executed. And then it was later established that he didn't even commit the murder. You see, so we have to push for some sort of amnesty. He has been released now. The list is endless. So I would urge Amnesty International to go inside, listen to some of the concerns of these prisoners. Some of them are there. You could even appeal their sentence if it is possible, or you could advocate something, a review of some of these convictions for them, because it's very, very unfortunate. So I want you to look at the broader picture whilst we are pushing for the death penalty to be expunged. Does it end there? No. So I want you to look at it as a package. Yes, what could be done for most of these inmates? Other than that, we just be doing window dressing. Meanwhile, the main problem will be hanging in between. For instance, a lot of CSOs have been talking, for instance, about the need for the non-custodial sentencing bill to be passed into law. We've been drumming this, parliaments, we've been visiting attorney generals, and then it's the same rhetoric. So, what is amnesty doing? I think amnesty is too diplomatic, and I don't know whether it is because of the nature of I don't know. But at times, in a terrain where demonstrations and at times a little fear is what governments understand. I'm not calling for that pricing, but then you need to shake your tables a bit. Amnesty has become too gentle an organization, a naming and shaming organization. It doesn't work these days. I also want you to look at the rise of migrants. It's something that is also dear to this organization. I'm not saying this because I'm a PhD student, I'm a migration student. And then if you look at the flagrant abuses of the rise of migrants, Ghanaians who travel to other countries to seek greener pastures, we know that government has put in place measures to curtail some of these trips and so on and so forth. But then man must eat. Most of them are out there. We receive calls on a daily basis. Some of them have been trapped in there. What is amnesty doing? Because I know that their fundamental human rights are also key to what you do. So to end it, I'll revisit the issue on the prisons. If you could conduct periodic visits, I know you do, but I don't remember the last time you visited the condemned block because I have been there. Please go and see the situation for yourself. Some of them are there because of a certain something that happened about 10 years ago, where people were alleged to have committed murder, and then someone was going around, the principal actor, whatever, who was nabbed. The police took him around town to name those who were involved. So if he had issues with you, he will name Anku, he will name Seteya. You see, that is, and in a country where shoddy police investigations have become the order of the day, we need to look at some of this, and I'm advising you go to the condemned block because that is where those who have been penciled to be executed are. Let's look at that. And then finally, the police, I think they are responsible for the congestion in our prisons. I interviewed someone yesterday. I've been interviewing prisoners for so many years, and what is happening is that they usually would mislead the accused person to tell the judge that they are guilty. The reason why they do that is because when the accused person knows that they are innocent, the understanding from the police side is that they are likely to be remanded. The police don't have that time. They do not have money for fuel to go bring the person either from police custody or from prison's custody to come to court. So they tell the judge you are guilty. The judge will let you go. And most of these accused persons are illiterates, unfortunately.
Cool.
But most of them don't write, are not allowed to write their statements. So just imagine a police officer trying to extort money from you, you resist, or you don't have. What statement do you expect the policeman to write for you? So these are the issues on the ground. And it's rather unfortunate we in the media haven't drummed home some of these issues enough. But I also see amnesty as another media wing because of the work you do. You publicize infractions of the law, and so on and so forth. So we will support you. But these are the issues that we think that you could also be drumming, home vigorously. Because when if you talk about amnesty, the death penalty.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr.
So, thank you.
So, in response to what you're saying, the death penalty is an hybrid activity where, because the people who are under death sentence, they're not in their homes, they're in prison. So, in our next step, which let's visit is one of the next steps, is to visit the condemned prison. Amnesty actually had come up with a prison. We did a research in 2015 thereabout, 2014, 15 thereabout, and we came up with a report. And that report was recommended to the president, where we found out, for instance, even the feeding costs. So a human being feeding on 80 pesos?
Once a day, 80 pesos.
Once a day, 80 pesos for 3 meals. What do you expect that person to do? So these are, and even the sleeping positions. They sleep in tents. You sleep this after, maybe you sleep at least maybe for 4 or 5 hours before. So we've done all that. And it's part of this death penalty campaign we are doing. Because that is where they are kept. So our next step is, one of the next steps is to visit the condemned prisons. And we talk to issues. If you can't kill the people, I will put it bluntly, if you can't kill the people, send them somewhere. Because even being in that condemned prison is a torture on them. Knowing that, or not knowing when you'll be killed, but you are being sent there to be killed. So rest assured that we will take, maybe our next, the campaign coordinator is here, she will put it in the next strategy. Right.
So that's fine. We're talking about basic education, housing, and we think that when some of these things are lacking, it also constitutes human rights violations. But have you also thought of maybe taking government to court? These are serious issues because it appears that some of these declarations that you make, some of these reports lie on the shelf. No one cares about them. Have you thought of? Are you afraid to take government to court?
Afraid. It's the nature of our work. We do advocacy. We advocate for rights. So you can't expect the government to build houses for everybody. What we advocate for, adequate and affordable housing. For instance, go in the slums. Fine, I might take my family and come and sit here. I'm trespassing. But not because I'm trespassing, you should just come and bulldoze me. So there are steps to take to remove people from where they are settling, illegally or whatever. You have to go through. We have housing laws. So you have to, and you even tell the people, we'll send you here or we'll send you in this particular area because you are poor. So our issue is, don't just wake up early in the morning and bulldoze people from their settlements, even though they are illegally settled. That is our point. That's the advocate. So we advocate for them. We even educate those who are in the slums to fight for their rights. You don't just sit here and then wait for AMA to come and bulldoze you. Tell them what should be done. They know their rights and then follow it.
Right. That's fine.
To add to that, Amnesty International has we are a sub of the Global Amnesty International here. Global Amnesty International. And we work with a strategy. Our new strategy started this year, 2022, and it's going to be, it's for 8 years, up to 2030. Now, during the consultative processes of our strategy discussion and all that, the whole of Amnesty decided that Amnesty is a human rights organization. We appreciate that, but it looks like we are doing almost everything that has to do with human rights. So we try to narrow it down to only 2 priorities. So the first priority that Amnesty International Global wants all of us to look at in the next 8 years is freedom of expression and civic space. That is the first priority. And the second priority is equality and non-discrimination. So, and then we also have flexible areas where the death penalty comes in, and then we also have access to justice, as well as the use of trade and arms and torture and all that. It's also our flexible area. So normally when we write our report, we report them under these priority areas that we have all agreed to work on as an organization.
These are some of the issues we should be looking at. You see, so we hope that we work together a lot next year, and then on the decriminalization of petty offences. We've come to the first phase with the SIRA. We are waiting for the second phase. We are ready. If Amnesty International wants to work with us in that area, we have the experience. We've been on the ground. We've also worked with USAID, the Justice Sector Support Activity. It just came to an end about the case tracking system and so on and so forth. So we are open. We are willing and ready to work with you.